So today is 2.5 weeks from when I put my hive out. I dropped my hive off February 20th, this 2019. I should have dropped it off a little earlier to take advantage of the first bloom, but I really didn't know any better. This is my first time dropping off a hive into orange groves. At the time it was my only hive. Before I brought it here, I split it, or I actually took 2 frames of brood out and grafted a queen, successful with that. And just walking up to this hive, I'm hearing a lot of activity going on inside it. And it's real warm. I guess that's because the sun comes up over there. But the guy who owns the place told me, he sends me videos every now and then of the entrance showing bees coming and going. So I wasn't too worried that my bees were, I'm seeing them bringing a lot of pollen also. That's good. Lots of pollen. I wasn't too worried that my bees had absconded. That was a possibility because this is swarm season, but luckily they had what they needed. I am surrounded by thousands of acres of orange grove here, so perfect place for them to do what they like to do and do what I like them to do. So today I'm going to go in here. My plan is to just check the brood, see what's going on in there, see how she's laying. I added a medium super so she could really expand the colony, which normally I just run one deep, but I wanted her to expand the colony because I'm planning on, after I leave here, take them back home, then take them up to the Panhandle to try to catch some Tupelo honey. That might just be another split that I do. I might just make a split off of some of this, so I have 3 hives out there, the one that's at the house, this one, and then make a split from that and see what happens. But hopefully we've got some honey inside the deep super. I don't know whether or not we'll have any in any of the mediums, but we'll find out in a minute. So I'm gonna go inside and take a look. I'll get a video. Well, I should probably get a video of this now. I was gonna say I'd get a video later of all these bees just coming and going out of here. They are doing some great work. That's what I'll do right now. Let me gather all my gear and then we'll have a look at the hive entrance. Stare at the entrance and you'll notice the bees coming back with loads of pollen on their legs. These orange groves provide tons of pollen and the bees are taking advantage. Well, I've got a serious ant problem. This camera can see this, let's hope. Look at it. So I didn't film, I don't think, when I took everything down initially, so I'll give you a recap. What I did is I had 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes above this medium that were supposed to be collecting honey, and then the medium was acting as a medium brood chamber above the deep brood. I had the queen excluder here. Well, as I went down through it, there was nothing in the top except for a little bit in the medium, in the deep that was above this medium, just a little bit of honey. So what I've done is I'm removing at least 2 of the medium supers off the top. Just get those out of there. There's no reason for them to be there. All they're doing is allowing this ant colony down here to come up in the top and lay eggs. And I'm just gonna, I told them to go ahead, let everything hatch out, and then start moving some honey up. They said that's cool. So as you can see, what I'm doing is I've widened these so they can draw out some thick comb. I'm doing the same here. See a lot of reviews about these things where people say they don't like them, but they do a good job. I don't know why anybody wouldn't like them. They're rigid. I mean, fairly rigid. They're not warped. They don't come warped. They're a hard plastic, so if you left it out in the sun, it would probably crack. But because it's a hard plastic, it doesn't, it's not susceptible to warping easily. So it might crack if you left it out in the sun, but warping would be a little hard. So right now I'm going to close everything back up and hit the road. And all right, this is perfect. Somebody said something one time about moths. They said that I heard it on a I don't know if it's a podcast somewhere, but nonetheless it was spoken. The words were spoken by someone who knows a lot about honey, knows a lot about bees. What they said was that you won't find moths in your boxes unless your queen's dead. Well, I just saw my queen crawling around, and I just saw a moth fly around in the top, and she ran down in there with my bees. So that expels that thought. There's a lot of things you hear by people. They may have witnessed one thing or another, and because they witnessed it one time or a couple times, they think that's just how it always is. But that's not how it always is. There's so many different ways things happen, and you got to keep an open mind especially when you're working with these things. It's always something new with these. So happy with what I see. My colony has built up a lot population-wise. We're going to go ahead and put this deep on here. Tell you what, I might actually change it out. I might grab a different deep that I have in the car, because this one has a slight crack down here. It needs to be sanded down so it meets up better. They may not like that light on the side. It may distract them from what their mission is. I just switched out the boxes, grabbed all the frames, squeezed them all together and put them in this box. Now I've got to separate them again. Got a bee over here thinks that's not such a good idea. But I think it is. All right, so we've got I've given them all full drawn comb on the bottom. Oops. All these supers now have full drawn comb. And I'll take home with me the ones that don't. And I'll swing back through here on my way back to Jacksonville in a few days, see what's going on in here in the top. Make my determination on whether or not I want to drop another box onto them. Or I'll do a quick recap until they get mad at me about what I did today. Came in here to look for what kind of production the bees have had so far, and as I left it last time, I left a deep brood chamber and a medium brood chamber, queen excluder, deep, medium, medium, medium. All right, so came in today, took the top off. All I saw at the top was that there was ants making a little colony in the edge of the telescoping top, in between the box and the top. So I got rid of those somewhat, and they were black ants, so they weren't a nuisance to me. I'm sure the bees didn't like it though. But anyway, I got rid of the top and took all the boxes off, and as I went down through them, I only saw 5 hive beetles collectively from all different chambers, all the way down to the bottom where I saw my queen, but started at the top, and there's nothing going on in the first 3 boxes. Got to the deep, and the deep had a little bit of honey pulled up into it, but they haven't started drawing any extra comb up there. I only had maybe 5 frames of drawn comb in there. And then came down in here, medium, she'd laid brood in about the middle 5 frames, let's say, and then there's a lot of honey on the outside like you'd like to see. So you want to see honey and pollen up around the edges of the outside of the top and the sides, and then you want to see brood all through the middle, solid brood through the middle. Everything looked great. So she's doing really well. Also down in the bottom, filled up with brood, and also filling up with some honey, so lots of honey actually. So some honey in here, lots of honey down here, and I've now put a queen excluder in between the bottom brood chamber and the medium that kind of was a brood chamber. Everything will hatch out hopefully soon. So once it all hatches out, they can start filling that with honey. If they don't have enough room, they can move out to the outsides here and bring the honey into the upper chamber. But today is March the 10th, and I put these out on February the 20th. So that's like 2.5 weeks have gone by since I started. Really, to tell you the truth, I've only gained, if you ask me, I've only gained from this a lot of new brood, which is a positive, because when I started this, I had taken out a couple frames prior to bringing them here and split a colony, and so I grafted a new queen, and I knew that wasn't maybe the smartest thing to do, because I took 2 frames of brood that were hatching out over the next couple weeks, let's say, or next day or 2, and I removed them from the colony before I brought them to the orange groves. So I don't ever suggest doing that, but this is all learning to me. I came out here with the hopes of getting some honey, but also to learn. This is always an ongoing learning experience. So I would never suggest to split immediately before you come out here to collect some honey from oranges or whatever you're collecting from. But that being said, I only took out 2 frames of brood, so it wasn't like a big cut on what they had going on. And right now, the amount of bees that are in here, they wouldn't be able to live in one box. They'd be bearding out the front. There's so many of them. So I don't know if what I did really had that much of an impact, or it could be, the conditions out here. When I dropped everything off, not all the species of trees had bloomed yet. Some were in full bloom. Some were, if you looked at a tree, you'd see some blooms that hadn't yet opened, some that were fallen on the ground already, but not in great numbers. So we weren't too far deep into the orange blossom season yet. So I knew I had quite a few more weeks to go, and the owner out here told me that, like I said, some species hadn't yet bloomed. So we have probably another 3-4 weeks of this bloom going on. Plenty of time for these girls to really do some serious collecting. What I'm thinking about doing is coming by, checking on it in a few days, just to see if there's any production up here, see what how much of the brood has started to hatch out. And my plan is to remove this hive from here no later than 3 weeks from now. So today is the 10th, the very end of the month. I want this hive out of here, and I need to have it heading up to the Panhandle to start collecting some of that Tupelo bloom is what I'm going to try to collect. So it's going to be a busy few days surrounding that week time period, because I'm going to have to take it off, extract, put the frames back in, shoot it over the Panhandle, drop it off, and let them get after it. It's going to be exciting. Bees are exciting. There's always something going on. There's something new to learn, something you observe you never thought was possible, or you never heard of before. So that's why I like doing it. It's almost like a science experiment that's ongoing and will never stop. You're never going to get to the end of what you can learn about these things, and that's why I like them. So I'll go ahead and wrap it up. Heading out of here. Like and subscribe. Leave your comments down below. Thanks for watching, and join me next time as we head back down and pull our hive from the grove. I can't wait to find out how much honey we get.